Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Two Bears high-fiving, and Elden Ring is a game, and Sekiro is also a game, but what would happen if you combined the two? Well, you would get E, die twice, or Edos, die twice, or just E twice. And today, we're gonna play E twice. First off, I have a very smooth brain, so merging multiple mods is hard for an individual such as myself. So if you notice anything weird, such as me shaking that thing back and forth while I walk and block at the same time, well, just mind your business. First thing we have to do is face the boss that we're supposed to die to, but I would never do that since I've never died in this game, so I plan on defeating him with my new parry skills. As you can see, there's a big old yellow bar at the bottom, which is the posture meter, and once that goes all the way down, the boss will be staggered and open for a nice little shiv and or shank. And this is actually a great boss to start with, since not only does he have a sword, but he actually has like 5 swords, all of them which I can bounce off my blade with ease. I also have Ashes of War that act as combat arts from Sekiro, and the one that comes equipped with my weapon is the One Mind, which makes me do this. Too bad this boss is a little cheater pumpkin eater because I can't parry the holy damage, so I die anyway. That guy was a little too easy anyway because I'm gonna face a real menace, being the Soldier of Godric, although he should really take the Soldier, Rick, and of out of his name because that would be more fitting. I let him take a few practice swings at me just so I can flex my parry skills, and through sheer power of will, I somehow was able to defeat this menace to society and restore peace to the world once again. And if you're wondering, yes, you can parry arrows. But before that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a free RPG that you can play on PC or even your phone with millions of other players that has over 80 million downloads already. You can truly bring console graphics to your phone and play over 700 completely unique champions from 15 different factions and customize them in tons of different ways. There's also tons of different things to do in Raid, like take on awesome bosses, battle your way through 12 unique dungeons, unlock new champions with new updates every single month, or fight real players in PvP battles. And if PvP isn't your thing, you could join up with a buddy and take on the new live arena in a tag team and rise up the ranks and prove yourself as the strongest summoner around. And new players can get their hands on the Stag Knight, one of the best epic champions around, as well as a skin for him designed by YouTube's only JonTron. To get him, just use the code JTSkin before October 7th, and if you're not a new player, you can still get this skin through in-game events. They've also recently added the Hydro Clash, which is a new clan-based competition where you and 4 other clans see who can smack the Hydra boss the hardest. If any of that sounds fun to you, or you just want to support the channel, then you can scan my QR code or click the link in the description and get a free starter pack with all this cool in-game loot for completely free. So once you get yourself geared up, I'll see you boys on the battlefield. Now, Sekiro is not only a master of the katana, but he also has a gimp arm that he loves to attach things to, such as spears, axes, flamethrowers, umbrellas, birds, and even firecrackers. But for now, we're just gonna stick to some throwing knives as our shurikens. And if you're like me, the first boss or mini-boss you'll face in Sekiro was the Chained Ogre. And while I can't find any ogres that are chained up, there is this big fella right here, and I realized my mistake immediately when challenging him, as I failed to parry about 1,000,000 arrows when I'm trying to fight him, only taking out one guy with my knives while the ogre is just beating the absolute piss out of me. They're not fighting with much honor, so I decided to back it up a little bit to get out of range and finish him off over here with a nice glitchy stab to the face. The next boss you would probably fight in Sekiro is the ultimate man on a horse boss, which Elden Ring has no shortage of, but there is one in particular that stands out from the rest. On the way to that horsey boy, I did find an actual chained ogre, so I don't know how I forgot about them, and then I foolishly fell down this pit. Twice. Oh, that's why they call it Shadows Die Twice. Or thrice. After getting blown up at the bridge about 50 times trying to cross, I sadly remembered to even fight this man on a horse, you need to get to the capital, which means I could either go grab 2 items to make it very easy, or I can fight the Magma Wyvern. And since I am chock full of honor in this run, I decided to take the path less traveled by and went to go fight the Wyvern. Surprisingly, you could actually parry his giant sword despite it being the size of a used 2005 Honda Civic, and it'll even send you flying back on the extra heavy hits, and it was quite the spectacle. And now I'm free to go face the man himself, and this was probably the first fight that I felt like it was kind of necessary to master the parry timing. Because if you haven't noticed, on a regular parry, I will take no damage, but it'll still lower my stamina. But on a perfect parry, you'll take no damage and no stamina loss. But this is a very difficult thing to pull off because in this perfectly balanced game, he likes to hit you with a casual 50-hit combo that does enough damage to kill you about 9 times over, and any non-perfect parries take about half of my stamina. So I had to get creative and mix in some samurai dodges in there if I wanted any chance of survival. Unfortunately for him, like a hefty fella trying to locate his wiener, he has a very hard time seeing things right under him. So I'm gonna roleplay as a moth, and his crotch is the flame.
Oh no! Oh no! It's illegal, Michael. There's no way to stop this.
Edge with the steel chair!
Once he was defeated, I decided I wanted to try some new weapon arts, and the first one I wanted to use was the Shadow Rush, which sadly is tied to the Glintstone Pebble Ash of War, which I need to kill Godric first to get, which was actually a pretty good time because he attacks pretty often and is much easier to parry than Radahn, and is just much more forgiving in general. I also like that you can parry his magic sword things that he throws at you and just makes you feel like a real cool guy when you pull it off. And even the second phase is pretty easy because you can just stand and trade with him if you're able to parry most of his attacks, and I tried to finish him off all cool guy style with my weapon art, but he ruined it at the last second like a big old jerk. And now that we can check him off the list, the next boss you would face in Sekiro would probably be the Blazing Bull, and while ours is not blazing, nor is he a bull, this was the closest I can think of. This man takes absolutely forever, and in Sekiro, there are some bosses that you basically have to kill by parrying them to death, and I would say that this one comes the closest to that so far. Mostly because this man is all rocked up everywhere, while I'm only bricked up, so hitting him anywhere other than the face or his booty is not very effective. And my wee little katana had such a hard time hitting those spots, and also this is not the best fight to test my new Ash of War, although I did hit him a few times, but the arena is just not designed for such extravagant moves, and it could be a wee bit glitchy sometimes. And next up on the hit list is our old friend Genichiro, and the closest thing I can think to a samurai style fight would be this fella right here.
The power of the dragon's blood. That will kill you as many times as it takes.
The next boss on the list is a guy in a suit of armor with a sword, and there are plenty of them in this game, but that would be too easy, so I decided to fight two guys in suits of armor with swords at the same damn time. But first I have to get through the hero's grave, and the only question on my mind is, can I parry this rolling death trap? No. I eventually made it to my victims, and I gave it the old college try, but I forgot that I suck at this game, and 2v1 is only fun when it's me versus my dad and stepdad. So I chickened out and went to go fight the sword guy by himself, and surprising absolutely everybody, it was much more manageable. I wish I would have remembered to do this in the fight, but you could actually duck with this mod, so when he swings his tail at you, you might be able to duck under it and style on him, but too bad I forgot that and just fought him the old-fashioned way. Next up is the folding screen monkeys, which is more of a puzzle boss in Sekiro, but puzzles are for freaking nerds because we're just gonna stab our way through this fight. And instead of having to fight 4 monkeys, I gotta fight about 50 of them, but the knives come in big handy to deal with the smaller guys, and getting the parry timing down on the main ones isn't too bad. Just gotta make sure I didn't get surrounded and get some sort of monkey-related disease. And for all of my efforts, I was rewarded with a sewing needle, which is weird because monkeys don't even know how to sew. Next up is the headless ape, and there is a headless giant that I could fight, but I decided to do one of the gargoyles instead because later in Sekiro you have to fight 2 apes, and also later in Elden Ring you have to fight 2 gargoyles, so that just makes more sense, I think. And this was another one that I had to get very good at doing a perfect parry with because he does a ton of posture damage on a regular parry, not to mention that he has these tornado attacks that you can't parry at all, which is always fun. And to beat this guy, all you gotta do is reach for an officer's gun when you get pulled over for speeding and just start blasting him with that. I also finally got to use my new Ash of War, which I think looks pretty darn neat. But once I defeated him, I decided I wanted a new one, and to get that, I gotta talk to my old samurai friend and take out some goon together, and of course, he has to show me up with his cool move to make me feel inadequate. Then it's my turn to return the favor, and of course I do the same thing to him, doing him dirty, right in front of his squad nonetheless, and then I get the Raptor Ash of War, which is now the Raven move from Sekiro, which lets you teleport behind an enemy when you activate it right when they hit you. Also, I kind of forgot about the prosthetic arm attachments, so I went and got a flame skill to represent the flame vent from Sekiro. And now I can do the old Snake Eyes, which is just a guy with a gun standing around a bunch of poison, so I decided to do the Kindred of Rot because you can fight them in the poison area, but sadly they do not have their gun license, but they do have the ability to shoot strings of cum at you or something, which is close enough in my book. Unfortunately, I have to fight two of them at the same time, but this time I am not going to chicken out, and with my new Ash of War, we are definitely Samurai maxing now, but sadly it does cost quite a bit of FP. Luckily it only costs if you actually activate it and it works, so you're free to spam it to your heart's content. And this was actually pretty fun. I was very happy that you can parry the cum string things they shoot at you, but weirdly enough, if you do parry them, it hurts their posture meter even though you don't touch them physically, but I'm not gonna come plain. And now we get to take on this lovely couple, and I can 1v1 the first guy for a minute and absolutely style on this man until the other one shows up and absolutely decimates me. So I decided to ignore that guy as much as possible because in Sekiro, it's all about that intimate one-on-one combat, and the second gargoyle has the vibe of a guy coming up to you at a bar and saying him and his wife really dig your vibe, if you know what I mean. And now I need to fight the old monk, or actually the ghost of the old monk, which is obviously going to be the ghost of Godfrey since you fight the real version later on, just like the old monk, although admittedly he is not very monk-like, quite the opposite actually. But he is mainly melee focused with his axe, with some nice low swings to parry and attacks to jump over, or just Raven mist through it whenever you want, just to feel cool. Obviously the melee based enemies are going to work a lot better with this mod, and this was definitely a good fight to show that off. And now we get to face the Omelet King, which is another sword on sword fight, which like I said is definitely the most fun way to play this mod, and this one was no exception. And I would say I went Goblin mode on this man, but let's be honest, I never turn Goblin mode off. It is a 24/7 ordeal, so I'm just beating the absolute piss out of this man for most of the fight, and it was a great time. 10 out of 10 would clash swords with him again. Next we take on the Fire Giant, who is clearly just the Demon of Hatred wearing a silly mustache, and this fight was much easier than the actual Demon of Hatred for a couple reasons. 1, I am the best Elden Ring player ever to exist. 2, I think the posture meter or some other mod broke this fight because he never goes into his second phase. And I mean, I'm not complaining because the second phase gives me migraines, but I was just confused as to why. Also, I got a new move based off of the Whirlwind Slash from Sekiro and absolutely decimated this man's ankles with that. And then I fought the Foreskin Twins, but I absolutely decimated them on like my second try, so yeah. Who I did not beat on the second, third, or even 10th try was the Beast Man himself. Although, the first phase was pretty fun and also very easy due to him spamming the same easy to parry combo over and over, and when I deflect his thrown objects, it counts towards his posture meter as well. So that part was a piece of cake. The second phase was a different story though, because when you parry him, you still take a lot of damage from his spooky dark magic or whatever, so it was back to dodging for me. And you would think that this really long dash that replaces your roll would help you in this fight, but it actually hurts me because I could barely ever manage to dash through an attack like I could roll through it. So it was just a lot of running circles around the arena, trying to run in and out, trying to get a hit whenever he does a combo, and make my way to safety. And for some reason Gideon also does not have a regular posture bar, but it is really cool that you could use the Raptor of Mist on a spell and just pop up right behind him from wherever in the arena. Or just pop up right in front of him and take a spell to the face, but whatever, you gotta roll the dice. And that leads us right into the real fight with the old monk, and this is another one where you really have to get that parry timing down because this man hits like a truck filled with C4, and a regular parry will not get the job done very efficiently. It was still a fun fight though because he has lots of fast attacks and you have to watch out for a lot of ground attacks and jump over them a lot, but it took me a while to realize that despite his posture meter going down, he was not being staggered when I got it all the way down. And just like the Fire Giant, he does not go into his second phase for some reason, but this is the last fight that messed up like this, so don't worry, I do have to fight Melania at her full potential. Speaking of which, let's just say that she is the Lady Butterfly of Elden Ring, and this is about the closest we're going to get to an actual Sekiro fight, and that makes it the most fun one to do. It is all about that fast-paced combat, parries, that base, and trading blows and Pokemon cards, and you may be wondering, can you parry the waterfall dance? Probably if you were good at this game, but I cannot, except for the time that I actually won, because I realized if you parry the first hit from that attack, it'll stop her from doing it altogether, but I didn't realize that until it was basically over, so whoopsie. And Radagon in comparison is a piece of cake and a lot more blonde than I remember for some reason. And this is another boss that does holy damage with some of her attacks, so you can't parry them all 100% all the time, but it didn't really matter too much because I put the smackdown on her except a few times when I got beat up very badly. And then we finally make it to the Elden Beast himself, who does have a sword to parry, but he uses it very little, causing me to have to abuse my dodge button more than I would have liked. Still a pretty easy and much more boring fight compared to Melania, because I'm just Sonic running all over the place, waiting for my opportunity to attack, but eventually my Samurai greatness is just too much for the Elden Beast to handle, and I do take him out. So yes, you can in fact beat Elden Ring as Sekiro. Thank you guys so much for watching, I truly appreciate it, and we're only about 20 million subs away from passing PewDiePie, so if you want to help me reach that goal, then maybe like and subscribe if you think I deserve it, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.